I'm back. You're watching Daybreak, and before we took that break, we've been talking matters employment, unemployment, creation of jobs, and the situation that Kenya finds itself in at the moment. And lots of you have been sending us feedback. Let's take a look at some of them right now.
Captain Denaire, politics and business is an issue that we really need to sort out as a country. I'm already saving for 2021 and 2022 because I'm 150% sure business will be back.
That's in referral to a topic we discussed a bit earlier on. Meanwhile, Kiana Morioki says over the years, unemployment has become normal in Kenya to the extent that its citizens have accepted the government's abdication of this role. Kenyans must actively pressure the government of Kenya to create employment.
All right, and my V says, I find it funny when we youthful population are told employment is not the only way, but instead we can open businesses and get self-employment. The reverse is true. Let those old enough who have been in employment start since they have capital.
That's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
It's tickled the funny bone of our panelists here. Yeah. Influencer K, unemployment is caused by fake promises made by politicians. Where are the 1 million jobs promised by them?
All right. Keep the feedback coming on 22422. Those are the SMS lines. You can call in 0719 777. You don't leave a name, but you say, I was out applying for attachment and it's so hard to get one, yet it's free. Which brings the question, if getting attached is hard, what about getting an actual job afterwards? It's honestly depressing. There are no jobs and then you have to know people. Honestly, it's so easy to just give up.
All right, Nixon Tugire from Kinderuma, it's time to end lots of emphasis on high-end levels on academics. Developing countries invest not just in formal education, but also in skills training. Okay, Nixon, thank you for that.
Very interesting perspectives there coming from our listeners and the viewers also. You can keep them coming on 22422. The hashtag is Daybreak. We'll read some of them as well online. But Madam Okoki, you were meant to respond to the allegations that have been brought about by Arnold here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there duplication of roles? Because that's what he was alluding to.
Clearly, there's no duplication of roles. If you go through the National Employment Authority Act, it is very clear what the act, the authority is supposed to do. For one, it's labor migration management. The other one is offering public employment services. And that is a service that, because Kenya ratified an ILO convention on employment services. And once you've ratified a convention, then you offer those services where people come to our offices to register as job seekers. Okay. And employers also come and register vacancies. And the employment officer matches these two. I'm happy to note now that we have gone online on this. And these are some of the reasons why we've taken a bit of time. We wanted to put in a few things that would be able to show a difference. And clear, it has nothing to do with budget.
So why are you relaunching now?
We are launching the authority.
Since 2016.
2016, as I mentioned, the board came into place. We had to put the house in order in the sense that we had to come up with a strategic plan, which we are already implementing. We have also come up with a draft internship policy and draft guidelines that is going to guide the nation on how internship should be conducted. We have also come up with the one that we launched the other day. It has been an area of concern in government about labor migration management. So we launched the home care management program, where all the people who want to go and work in the Middle East, especially the low-skilled people, go through a training. And we have that is the first curriculum of its own for home care management that we launched. And it was developed with the help of KICD and NITA.
So a lot has been happening behind the scenes.
A lot of things have been happening behind the scenes. We had issues with employment agencies, we had a lot of many briefcase employment agencies. Yeah. What government has done, it has put in regulations in place that has helped to weed out some of them. We are not exactly there, but we are moving there.
But you're moving.
Yes.
Allow me to interrupt you because we have a call online. Sarah from Kitengela. Good morning, Sarah. You have a question or comment?
Yes, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I have both a question and a comment. Now, this is to the government of Kenya.
Yes.
Yes, regarding the early childhood education teachers.
Okay, is this related to our topic today, which is where are the jobs?
It is related. It is related.
Go ahead then.
Yes. Now, my question to the government is...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, so the government has authorized the colleges, the ECD colleges that are training ECD teachers using cliché and Montessori methods to train teachers in Kenya.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then now my question is,
yes,
how
please.
come once the Montessori and KHA trained teachers are through with their training, the TSC refuses to give them TSC number?
Okay.
And yet, when you look at the new curriculum, the preschool curriculum, it is all about Montessori. It is they are the things that we normally do in Montessori.
Okay.
Yes. So that is my question, and I'm just requesting the panel to address this because it is unfair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Sarah from Kitengela. I don't know whether that's something that's up your alley.
I doubt if you can respond directly to it, but there's always been a concern between training versus opportunity, the training you get versus the job that you're actually employed for. And that is one thing that also Sam was bringing up. Is that an issue that you're also focusing on as the National Employment Authority?
Yes, labor market information, where we will be able to advise on the kind of jobs that employers will be posting on with us. It is very easy now using that data to know the areas of focus for training and then work closely with the training institutions, the TVETs for that matter, so that we bring out people who have those requisite skills that are required by the industry.
Okay, thank you.
So it is something that the authority is also working on.
It's something that you're working on. Okay, we'll come back to you to get a bit more. But Abraham, come in again. Lots of discussions have gone round. And one of them is, in Kenya, is the problem getting jobs, or that the jobs aren't there in the first place? How do you think we can relook at this problem? And you've seen that young person saying, we have a generation of the employed who are telling the unemployed, create businesses, but the unemployed are telling those who are employed, can you leave so that we can get jobs because you already have a head start? How do we find a way forward?
I think the problem is both. I think even for the jobs that are there, it's not easy to get them. But I think the bigger problem is that we are not generating as many jobs as we are churning out people. Now, the problems are several. One, actually, is how ready is the person leaving Form 4 or the university or the college ready for that job? Because you will find that there are certain jobs that are open, but they really cannot take someone today and place them and they start working tomorrow. So what does that say? That says that we need to relook at our education system as a whole. And I think if you look at the current...
Is it relooking the education system or finding a way to give someone enough experience?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
You're getting there, okay.
Yeah, because see, like now, if you look at the education system right now, with the competency-based learning, I think by the time it comes back up, maybe you might have a window there, because it's a completely different game where you're running your own race and looking at what you're good at and your competencies. And I think that may be the way forward. But coming back to the labor market, don't forget, these are entrepreneurs. When they look at you as an employee, they're looking at you as a labor resource, where you come in and give in a certain input and you're paid for a certain amount of money, and they make money on you. That is what it is. And also, don't forget the expectations that we have. When we started our education, like for example, when I was starting my education, by that time, people who are leaving were getting jobs automatically. So we also have to demystify some of these illusions that are there, that the ball has changed, that the cheese has moved. That by the time you're leaving, it may be harder to get a job, or you may have to think a bit harder, or you may want to go into things that are not there now, but are coming. The same way that there are jobs that are there now that are going away. So that whole dynamic. But just to comment on the issue of the institution that Madam is heading, my personal take is that I would have rather the government does not do business, because the government has no business in business, to be quite honest. Because they have a unique position of formulating policy and implementing policy. So they can drive this country any way they want. But now, when you're a referee and you're a player, then the conflict arises.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the problem starts, when government goes into business. So let government stay in the policy space and enable the private sector to sort out this problem. And especially, like for jobs, the low-hanging fruit is to expand existing enterprises. And how do you do that? Because, and it goes back to what I said about ease. We talk about ease. You see, even the tax regime, there are countries in Africa, if I'm not wrong, Ghana, that have drastically brought down the tax regime. And what happens? Compliance is higher. And now even, and self-compliance, even the so-called informal, will feel the need to just comply because it's not as onerous as it is. So some of these things, I think we need to think them a bit more.
Okay.
But yesterday's thinking will not solve today's problem.
All right. Sam, before I come to you, we have a caller from Nairobi, John. John, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, John. Go ahead with your comment or question.
I just want to ask about small medium enterprise. It's a comment that there's also a thing that I want the panel to address.
Yes.
Now, instead of the government keeping on telling the young people to consider and concentrate on how they will get employed, why shouldn't the government make an environment whereby maybe our markets within Nairobi or in every part of Kenya, the market to be built, the other thing, the action and the rest to be built, and then they encourage like the people who are given contracts by the government, like contractors who are building the roads, to buy things that which are made locally instead of importing these goods that they are working on.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. John is speaking about improvement of market accessibility even for the local manufacturers here. But you wanted to jump in on the issue of the government trying to also work as an agency.
I mean the data, and first of all, I'm just quite grateful to hear some of the things the agency has done in terms of laws. I mean, sensitizing people on jobs in the UAE and also the interns policy or how to engage interns. But the data you're looking for is sitting with Brighter Monday. Of who the employers are. It's sitting between Brighter Monday and Kuhasol. We'll be able to tell you which job opportunities are available in Kenya and who is posting. So I feel like a National Employment Authority, when it comes to platforms, it's just another Ajira duplicating Kuhasol, Brighter Monday being duplicated on their platform again. The data, and exactly what he said, this is not government's role. Okay, let private sector do this. Give us information. Right now, seated here, we cannot, I don't know if anybody has a number of how many SMEs are registered in this country that are tax paying. You know, KRA, does it provide that data to us for us to know where the opportunities are, even what the challenges are to build on that? So, education for me is great. We're still teaching kids the parts of a locust and the parts of a flower and the parts of a flame. Okay, and these are things kids don't need to know today. You know, these kids, they can Google these things as they grow older. Okay, we're still teaching kids today things that computers are doing today in our offices. They're learning them in schools. They will not need to do these things. Computers are already doing them, which means they will not be needing to do those things. Our education has to change. We need to start teaching our children for the future they're walking into, not the one we are coming from. Okay. This has to change drastically. Otherwise, forget about jobs. And
forget about jobs. I want to interrupt you because we have a call from Minnesota.
In the US.
Believe. Okay. Duke, come in. What's your question or comment? All right.
Hello?
Duke, go ahead. What is your question or comment? You're live on Daybreak.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to comment about the program I'm seeing you right away now. About job creation in Kenya.
Okay.
Yes, because I've seen that program and you see being a Kenyan. Okay. My main point is this.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
You know, with the problem about job creation in Kenya.
Yes, go ahead.
All of these. Okay, all of these problems, I just think they are just being specifically on about corruption.
Okay, why do you say that?
You know, the only problem is all even the stakeholders who are on job creation, who are seeking jobs, their mandate and mostly it's just based on all of their intentions are just linked on corruption, because when maybe a student is in school, the parents.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Duke. That's Duke calling from Minnesota in the U.S. There's
it's raised an interesting point, though. How much, and Arnold, maybe you could answer this, corruption, how many jobs has it eaten up in this country?
I think that is one of the most inspiring questions I've seen this morning. Because if we start looking at corruption from a perspective of the jobs they take away from, not just money, because when we look at figures, it doesn't make sense, because there is no correlation, at least in the way we put figures out there and service delivery and how it affects you directly. But when you start looking at corruption as the jobs that your niece, your sister, and yourself probably do not have, as that road you do not have, as the hospital you've been to and there's no medicine, then we'll start looking at it differently. That is literally our biggest problem, and not any other of these things, because there's a lot of pilferage. We lose a lot of money in corruption, and that will be going to sectors that will create jobs. Literally, we take corruption and governance very lightly. Even in the previous segment as we spoke, I realize Trevor and yourself are trying to look at politics as probably a lighter side. But if we fix our politics today, we will fix our economy. Our biggest problem is politics. And before we look so far, because it's so easy to point fingers at politicians, but I want to tell you this. Some Americans say this.
I was going to say this. There's a counter-argument to that. Yes. That America has one of the most confusing political setups that one could talk about. Yes. But because their institutions are independent, it does not affect, their politics does not affect their economy. So as much as you are saying fix our politics, you also are not the first man in Jerusalem. Yes. You know how long that will take. So
that's why I'm saying, when we fix our politics, and Kwame Nkrumah said this, I think we took it for a joke when he said, seek ye first the political kingdom, and all the rest will follow. When we talk about institutions, that is politics. When we talk about governance, at the top of it and at the heart of it is politics. So we must fix our politics first. Let us do away with this political system that every time we try to work around, that if I look at Sam, I do not look at Sam as an entrepreneur. I want to ask Sam, what is your next name? And if you have got a funny name like myself, Maliba, somebody asks you, you do not have a third name, because it's hard to place where this Maliba comes from unless I sleep, and you probably get it from my accent. So we must fix our politics to start with. That way we will fix the economy. 2, we need to be active citizens. We are only active citizens by complaining. Corruption arrives at the ballot. Bad leadership shows up during campaign. Even jobs are taken away either during campaigns or at the ballot. You lose your jobs as you cast the ballot. We want to pretend that we're so different. Like I was telling you, one American once said that we have seen our enemy, and he is us. On the day the people realize that their first enemy is themselves.
I agree.
Like I'll tell you, for example, today I can see traders complaining. We have really complicated how to import stuff. If you are getting your spares from Dubai, you saw the document that came yesterday. But what is the mistake we did? The only mistake we did is that we voted for these guys. If we had asked questions, we would have gotten it right. For example, we should be selfish as individuals. We need to tell voters that be selfish. Ask, what is in it for me and my children? Before we vote. But in this country, we decide whom to vote for first, and the reasons to why we are voting for them come second. Elsewhere, people come up with the reasons to why they should vote for somebody, and somebody shows up who looks like those reasons, and then they get that. So we come up with a person, and we struggle to fit the cloth on him. It should be the other way around. We have got the piece of cloth, and whoever fits in that piece of cloth should be the person to take that. So we need to take care of that. Now, on to what you said about the jobs around here. I'm thinking that we are getting everything wrong. We just need to fix our economy. And like I said, the politics we go around and we claim politicians promised us. When they were promising these guys, you will not tell some of these people last year, do not vote for this MCA. do not vote for this MP, they will actually have slapped you and told you do not know what you are saying. Today they are shouting loudest on Twitter. I think the problems we are facing should actually teach us a bit of the fear of God, so that we know exactly what to do right and how to move on going forward. Because we are at a place where people steal, and now we are crying, and the handshake is good, at least for a moment, because now we are united in grief. We are a big congregation of mourners, and as we mourn, I think that is the place where some of us come in with a party like the tea and
no platform for campaign. Let's take a short break, but we have a lot of feedback coming through on 22422 and on Citizen TV Kenya, and at Trevor Obija, and at Wega Moura. The hashtag is Daybreak. Let's bring up some of them right now and read them through before we take a quick break.
Okay, Mwalimu Maina from Karatina, how do we create jobs for our youth when the government is doing job recycling to retired and tired officers when we have young, able and energetic youth?
All right. Mary Kakenya says the problem with the youth bracket who are jobless thinks of job as white collars only. No, job is a term and the output out of it is the major importance they ought to consider. We need to be flexible in mind to embrace opportunities around us, because even many don't have the qualification requirements, but we are qualified naturally to make ourselves successful. All right.
All right, we have 1 or 2 tweets. Actually, 3 tweets. Okay, let's see what people are saying on Twitter. At Francis Kigondu, we need to push the government to create special economic zones where businesses and companies are given massive tax breaks to set up in Kenya. Jobs will be created through companies that are big enough to export what we produce.
All right, and we have Muyai 10. There are literally no jobs. I've been looking for one for more than 2 years now. It's either you know someone or you're super lucky to get a job. Papers are nothing other than that, papers. Now I'm almost at a state of depression in the name of looking for a job.
Wow.
Help.
Okay, that's a very emotive one. Mugalizi, as a country, we need to create more jobs for the young people who are the majority and the future of the country. Let's invest in the future. When we return, we'll be posing a couple of questions to Edith Okoki, who's the Acting Director General, National Employment Authority. How can a young person register on the platform today? What can they expect in terms of feedback, whether they were successful or not? And what promises do they have for young people moving forward? How many jobs do they hope to have set young people up by the end of the year, in 2020, and so forth? Those questions will be answered and so much more when we return.